You can really see how many boxes I have in each row. First, we're going to start by sectioning off the hair into smaller sections so that they're easier to work with. I did 3 sections on each half of her head, making sure that there's a part from ear to ear and then one all the way down the middle. If your client has really thick hair, you might want to do it in smaller sections so that it's even easier to work with. The product I'm using today is Shine and Jam in the yellow bottle, and we're going to get to creating the first 2 rows. So we're going to split that hair in half and then start to create the first 2 rows beneath the top of her ear. I'm using my parting chart that is also available in my parting chart bundle, link in my description. The first 2 rows are going to be by the nape of her neck. So row number 1 is going to be all the way at the bottom, and this is going to be below her ear. And then row number 2 is going to be directly above it. So I like to create my horizontal parts first before I go in and create my boxes. And this just gives me a framework to follow so that all my boxes are even. Row number 1 out of 6 in total. So for row number 1, I like to make sure that I'm putting enough hair in each braid so that there's not too much tension on the nape of my client's neck, because this section back here is very sensitive for most people, especially me. So I like to make sure that I put enough hair so that the braid is not dangling and hanging on by a thread. If you're new to knotless braiding, don't worry, I have the perfect slowed down step-by-step tutorial for you linked right here in the cards, and that should answer all of your questions about starting them off. But basically the difference between a knotless braid and a traditional braid is that the knotless braid doesn't have a big bulky knot at the base of the braid. So I usually prefer to do these now just because they're very low tension, the style doesn't hurt even on day 1. So if you're new to braiding, I definitely prefer knotless braids over traditional. Now these are also knotless goddess braids. So you're gonna see me separate the pieces of curly hair and put them to the side so that they can stick out of the braids. I also have a tutorial for this as well that's more detailed than this one because this one's a parting video. But if you guys have any questions, definitely leave them down below and I'll try to answer them for you. Keep in mind that everyone's head shape is a bit different. So some people have a larger nape of their neck, which is like the bottom back piece. Some people have a smaller one. So it depends on how many boxes you can fit person to person, but the method is the same. Also, for the ends of these braids, I'm just adding in another piece of curly hair, and I'm gonna braid all the way down until I cannot braid anymore, and then tie a little knot at the end to secure the braid in place. All right, row number 2. This is where we're going to start staggering our boxes on top of each other. So staggering, I mean we're going to place our part directly in the middle of the braid below it. And this is going to create a brick layer pattern, which basically just means if you've ever seen a brick house, the bricks are kind of like staggered on top of each other. They're not directly placed on top of each other. This is going to give your braids a fuller look without adding so much braiding hair. I have a slight pet peeve when there is so much braiding hair in a braid install because 1, it's heavy, 2, it doesn't look very natural to me. So creating this brick layer pattern with the boxes staggered gives the effect of full braids. So here I'm starting my knotless braid and I'm going to go underneath that middle piece and grab the other section, and after the second rotation is when I start adding in the braiding hair. So I like to add in smaller pieces versus larger ones because this is going to let me build up my braid to the size that I want it to be versus it being too bulky too quick. So make sure to use smaller kind of pieces, and that's going to allow you to control the size of your braid better. After row 1 and 2, we're going to move on to 3, 4, 5, and 6. These are going to be the rows above the ears, and the way to get them super crisp is start off with a rough draft first, then go in and apply gel directly onto the part, and then re-part it again. And this is something that I do for every single part, and it really allows you to get that crisp, fine, clean parting. You'll also see me flip the hair up and down, and I'm just making sure that the row is the same size along the whole length of it and that it's not tapering off in one section. Depending on how many sections you've made, you're just going to align the section with the one before it. So you can see how I parted off that front piece. I'm just going to make sure that my lines are just lining up properly and then continue on with the row. So still on row 3, this is just the other side of her head. I'm just making sure that my lines are matching up, and I'm continuing the same bricklayer pattern across the whole row. A tip that I have for you guys is to start parting from the middle and then start parting outward toward the ears. This is good. As you start to get toward the top of the head, the boxes are not going to be the same size as the ones beneath them. They're going to get slightly smaller or slightly longer. This is to help match the round shape of your head. To start doing that, I start off with one straight line, but then the next line that I do is going to be tapering inwards. So you can see that that one has a straight line, but the next one that I'm going to do is going to slightly be inward. This is really only for the back middle part of the head because the boxes on the sides and the top still kind of even out to where they are a full box shape. Something that you may need to do is readjust the box sizes if needed. So if you get all the way to the edges and you realize that one of your boxes is too small for your liking, you can move backwards a little bit and borrow some hair from the previous boxes to even out your parting overall. For row number 5, I'm going to do the exact same thing, but this box is going to be slightly more tapered. If you look really closely, you can see that I have ruler markings on the comb that I'm using. And this is my IBB Precision Ruler Comb, and this actually helps so much. If you struggle getting consistent parts, the ruler on the comb allows you to have that accuracy without having to eyeball it so hard. And once you get past a certain point, you definitely may not even need it anymore, but I always think it's great to just have on your comb just in case you want to measure. This ruler is available at indiebindybraids.com. Once you start to get toward the top, the braids are not going to be in a perfect bricklayer pattern anymore, but that's okay as long as they're evenly spaced out. You're still going to get that full look. This is what we should be looking like by row 5. So now you can see the U-shaped parts forming in each row. Just in case you were curious about how I separated the hair, I'm just using my braid rack that I've painted pink, and I've also got my Boom Chicka Pop right there that I'm eating as a snack. All right, y'all, row number 6 is finally here. Row number 6 is directly down the middle of the part. This is the last row or last section that you're gonna do. So make sure that that part is in the middle of your client's head. I've definitely accidentally not put it in the middle before and it just wasn't a good look. So make sure each side is even and then start parting down toward the front. I did 4 boxes in this row. If you're new to braiding and to parting, do not forget to practice. It is something that comes with time and patience, and don't get frustrated if it doesn't come easy at first, because again, with practice, you'll definitely get better over time. All right, so I did 42 braids in total, maybe give or take a braid or two just in case I didn't count correctly, but about 42. Okay, you all, we are now finally done. Almost. So for this style, for these goddess curls, I pinned them out of the way so that I can dip the actual braiding hair into hot water. This is gonna seal the ends and make sure that they don't unravel. When I'm done dipping, then I take the curls out and then I apply some mousse. If you guys are wondering what products and what hair I use, it'll be all down below in the description for you guys. The estimated time for this style is about 5 to 6 hours, depending on how fast or slow you part. Here is the finished look. Thank you guys so much for watching. If this video helped you out, do not forget to hit the like button as well as subscribe, and I'll see you in my next video.